It's July 14th, 2024, and a UP freight train makes its way through at 7 in the morning just north of Roseville. We're here today on day 2 of my Union Pacific Big Boy trip to start our trip over the Donner Pass, chasing the Big Boy to Reno, Nevada. The Big Boy is scheduled to start its trip at 8, but before that, this train plus Amtrak 729 Capital Corridor had to clear the pass in order for the Big Boy to proceed. Already at 7 a.m., there's a massive crowd at Roseville waiting for the Big Boy. This is foreshadowing of the massive crowds we would see on the entire length of the Donner Pass as we chase the Big Boy. A few minutes after 8, the Big Boy makes its way out of Roseville's yard and onto the main line. UP Railroad Police had a tough time getting the crowds back from the tracks. Today's consist consists of UP 4014 and 2 tender cars. UP 1983 and SD70 ACE follows behind it. 1983 is the Western Pacific Railroad Heritage Unit and joined the train in Portola before its trip over the Feather River Canyon, which took it to Roseville, the Feather River Canyon being the Western Pacific route over the Sierras. Behind UP 1983 is an assortment of baggage cars, which serve as maintenance and mechanical shops for the 4014. They can do pretty much anything over the road. Behind the baggage cars is an assortment of passenger cars original to the Union Pacific passenger service, which now serve as part of Union Pacific's executive fleet. Among these cars is an exhibit car, which was open to the public the day before filming this video. In the previous video, I got to tour this car and walk the length of the train. The car gives facts about the Union Pacific Railroad, the cargo it carries, and its history. After watching 4014 crawl out of Roseville, it was time to get on the highway and start the chase. On Interstate 80, 4014 is visible just next to the highway. Interstate 80 will follow most of the route to Reno, Nevada, and serve as our main way of getting to the train. Rockland is just north of Roseville, but at this point the train has picked up some speed. Our next opportunity to catch the train is at Auburn, and we're able to just snag a small parking spot and run up the hill to catch the train over the bridge over I-80. It's just a few minutes after filming the shot, we hear 4014 go over the radio and declare emergency. Just a few hundred feet from the bridge, 4014 had struck a tree. We didn't know it at the time, all we knew is that the train was stopped. Since we weren't sure what was going on, it was safest for us to proceed up to the next spot. The town of Colfax was hosting its annual Rail Days as well. We drove by Colfax and very quickly realized we were not getting anywhere near the big boy. So we drove just north of Colfax to a small remote crossing. A UP stack train westbound descends the Donner Pass as we get more bad news about the big boy. It was at this point we learned that the big boy had struck a tree, but we were not sure what the damage was. It was also at this point when we learned that Amtrak's California Zephyr had been just behind the big boy and was now stuck behind it. Amtrak began to reverse to Newcastle to take the switch and take the other main line around the big boy. Once this train cleared, Amtrak would be allowed to proceed northbound around the big boy. It was also at this point that we learned about the extent of the damage to the big boy. Remember those baggage cars I mentioned at the beginning of the video? Well, they carry everything, and they can do all welding on the big boy. That tree had damaged the cylinders on the front sides of the big boy. That crew had to get out and re-weld some panels on those cylinders to get the big boy running. During this time, there were rumors of the trip being canceled and the big boy being pulled back to Roseville for further repairs and heading out another day. But this would prove to not be true. The total delay time would be about 4 hours, and after Amtrak, it would be another hour until the big boy came.
going?
And after a pretty major delay, the chase was back on. Because of the delay, the big boy skipped its stop in Colfax and made every bit of track speed the rest of the day. Because of heavy traffic, we weren't able to catch up until Gold Run, which is where we saw Amtrak 5, the other California Zephyr, making its way to Emeryville. Just after this shot, the big boy would appear. After Dutch Flats and Gold Run, we raced over to Blue Canyon, which was quite a ways away from Gold Run and is the site of two horseshoes, which helped the trains get up the Donner Pass. After Blue Canyon, we attempted to catch the train at Emigrant Gap, but There were so many people parked on the side of the road, we could not physically pull the car off the road. And because of that, we ended up missing it. So we tried to beat it to Truckee, where we definitely could not stop either.
All the way into Reno, okay. Back a little bit. Thank you, sir. Here we go.
Because of its delay, it also missed its whistle stop in Truckee, where it went straight through instead of stopping. This shot is about 5 minutes outside of Truckee. Racing up I-80, we barely got this one at Florestan, California. At this point, we've already reached the summit of Donner Pass, so we stopped climbing elevation and we're just about to cross into Nevada. It was also at this point where we lost all the side roads and there was construction on I-80, which meant that all the people who pace the train and block the roads meant that we could not chase it much further and would be pretty slow catching up to it again.
Double check. We had one of them that was.
We were already stuck behind all the people pacing it, so since we couldn't go any further, we took the opportunity to get some pacing shots of the big boy. One thing to note if you want to chase the big boy through any of its excursions, the traffic is horrendous, and people drive like they've never driven a car before. Seriously, stay safe when you do this. Just over the Nevada border, we get one chance to catch the train in the Nevada scenery at Verdi, just before it enters Reno. And just like that, the day's excursion comes to an end at Sparks, which is just east of Reno. Sparks is where the Union Pacific has their yard. The trip comes to an end 3 hours late. The Union Pacific big boy tying up here at Sparks, Nevada for the night with no public access. As a bonus, because the train was so late, the clouds cleared up and we had better lighting for the majority of the trip after the delay. This is my third time catching the big boy, and I would say out of all the times, the traffic and the people were the most and the craziest I've seen. There were the most people out for this, probably because the last time I chased it was in Louisiana, and the time before that was in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska. I'll link my other big boy chases below. Hilariously, after filming this clip, we would end up in Truckee where our car would break down, and it would take us multiple hours to get back on a tow truck. I've had many mishaps, but none quite as terrible as getting stuck in Truckee till 2 in the morning, getting on a tow truck back to the Bay Area. That was brutal. But make sure to subscribe so that my car doesn't break down next time.